you to picture a scenario. And I'm warning you right up front, this might trigger a little bit of PTSD if you work in an office.
Oh boy. Proceed with caution.
Yeah. So it's Tuesday, 2 p.m. You are in a meeting about, let's say, migrating to a new project management software.
The classic low-energy, high-stakes meeting.
Exactly. The energy is just sludge. People are checking their phones under the table. And the topic is technically complex, right? There are API integrations, budget overlaps, training schedules.
It's messy.
It's so messy, and you can just feel the confusion in the room. It's almost like a fog.
Right, because ambiguity is physically uncomfortable. People hate it.
They really do. But then one person speaks up. Let's call him Confident Chad.
Of course. There's always a Chad.
There is always a Chad. So Chad leans forward, he waves a hand dismissively at this massive complex diagram on the screen and says, look, it's simple. We just need to centralize the workflow. If we centralize, the efficiency gains pay for the software in Q3. Done.
And just like that, the fog lifts.
It's magical. Everyone nods. You nod. The boss nods. It just feels so clean. The decision is made, the meeting ends early, and you walk out feeling great.
And
then 2 weeks pass. You start the actual implementation, and it is a complete disaster.
Shocking.
Total train wreck. The centralized workflow breaks the sales team's entire process. The efficiency gains are just eaten up by consulting fees, the plan falls apart completely, and you're left sitting there wondering, how did we all feel so sure about something that was so obviously flawed?
That is the million-dollar question. Because at that exact moment in that room, you didn't feel like you were being reckless.
No.
You felt clear.
I felt smart. I felt decisive. Yeah.
Exactly. And that is the mystery we are unpacking today. We are looking at a really fascinating stack of research for our deep dive today on why clear thinking is so hard. And the core argument from the source material is going to make you feel a lot better about those failed projects.
Please tell me it's not just because I am easily manipulated by confident people named Chad.
I mean, no, it's not just that. The argument here is that clarity, that visceral feeling of, aha, I get it, is very often a trap.
A trap.
Yes. And more importantly, the fact that you struggle to think clearly in these situations isn't a personal failing. It is a structural mismatch between your biology and the modern world.
Okay, structural mismatch sounds like a very polite way of saying my brain is obsolete.
Well, let's say your brain is vintage.
Vintage, I like that.
Right, it's running legacy code. But before we get into the biology of it all, we really have to talk about the illusion of competence. Because this is where all the guilt comes from.
Right. Because logically, I feel like I should be able to think clearly. I have literally the sum of human knowledge in my pocket. If I don't understand something, I can just Google it, I can ask an AI, I can watch a quick video.
And that right there is the trap. We assume that access to information is the exact same thing as comprehension of information.
But isn't it? I mean, if I can find the answer in 10 seconds.
Doesn't that make you smart? No. It makes you efficient at retrieval. It did not make you good at synthesis. Think about it this way. If you don't understand quantum physics, you can easily find a 5-minute explainer video on it.
Oh, I love those. Quantum physics for toddlers.
Exactly. So you watch it, you see the cute little animations, you learn words like entanglement and superposition, and when the video ends, you actually feel like you understand quantum physics.
I mean, I could probably hold my own at a dinner party for at least 3 minutes.
Right. You have familiarity, you recognize the concepts, but you don't actually understand the underlying mechanics. You haven't done the math. You haven't grappled with the contradictions.
Yeah.
But because the information was so incredibly easy to get, your brain mistakes that familiarity for actual mastery.
So the internet gives us the sensation of knowledge without the actual work of learning.
Precisely. And that creates this massive gap. We feel like we should have a fully formed opinion on everything. Interest rates, geopolitics, epidemiology, because the info is right there.
And when we feel confused or overwhelmed by it all, we blame ourselves.
Yes. We think, oh, I must not be smart enough, or I just need to focus more.
When really we're just drowning in data we aren't equipped to process.
We are trying to drink from a fire hose with a straw. But here's the thing that I found really compelling in the research. It's not just that we can't process it all. It's that we are actively incentivized to fake it.
Fake it how?
Go back to your meeting scenario. Why did everyone nod at Confident Chad?
Because, well, silence is awkward. And we really just wanted a decision.
It's more than that, though. Modern systems reward speed. If your boss asks you a complex question and you sit there in silence for 2 solid minutes to truly think it through, weighing all the
I
variables.
look like I've crashed. I look incompetent.
You look unsure. And in the corporate world, and definitely in the social media world, hesitation is coded as weakness. Speed is coded as competence.
Wow.
The person who has an instant take is viewed as a leader. The person who says, I don't know, it's complicated, they're viewed as slow.
So we are literally trained to prioritize fast answers over true answers.
We are trained to prioritize coherence. We desperately want a story that makes sense right now, even if it turns out to be wrong later.
But wait, it's not just social pressure, is it? Because even when I'm just alone reading the news at night, I feel this desperate need to figure out who is the bad guy immediately. Like, I get anxious if I don't know what to think.
That is the biological hook. And this is crucial to understand. Ambiguity, that state of not knowing, is physically painful for the human brain.
Painful, like it actually hurts.
It creates immense tension. It's what psychologists call an open loop. When you don't know how to interpret a situation, is this news good or bad? Is this neighbor-friendly or a threat? Your brain stays on high alert.
Right.
It burns glucose. It pumps cortisol into your system. Sustained ambiguity is metabolically expensive.
So my brain is just trying to save energy by jumping to a conclusion.
It is trying to regulate your anxiety. Closing the loop, even with a completely false conclusion, feels like relief. It literally lowers your blood pressure.
That explains so much. It totally explains why I prefer a simple lie to a complicated truth. The simple lie lets me relax.
And there is one more layer to this, which is identity.
Oh, I'm the kind of person who believes X thing.
Right. Changing your mind is energetically expensive. Maintaining a consistent worldview provides a stable sense of self. If you had to truly reevaluate your politics or your professional philosophy every single time a new piece of contradictory data came in,
I'd have an identity crisis every Tuesday.
you would be a nervous wreck. So we have all these powerful forces pushing us toward fast clarity, social rewards, anxiety reduction, identity stability. It just feels good to be certain.
But since it's a deep dive, I assume you're about to tell me why this feel-good mechanism is leading us right off a cliff.
Well, let's look at the reality check. The source material uses this great example of what happens when fast clarity meets complex reality. And the example is buying a house.
Oh God, the ultimate bait and switch.
Think about the process. It starts online, Zillow, Redfin, whatever. It's a clean interface. You have little filters.
It's fun. I love it. I want 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, under this price, in this exact zip code. Click. Here are the 6 houses. It feels exactly like shopping for shoes.
You feel so confident. You can compare them side by side. This one has a pool. This one has a bigger yard. You make a little spreadsheet. You feel incredibly logical. This is the illusion of competence at work.
And then you actually go to the open house.
And reality just explodes. So suddenly it's not just 3 bedrooms. It's,
Right.
okay, the roof looks weirdly patchy and the floor is sloping a bit. And wait, do I smell mold in the basement?
And then you check the insurance rates and realize they just tripled in that specific county.
Exactly. And the school district is redistricting next year. And your commute is 20 minutes longer, but only on Tuesdays and Thursdays. The number of variables expands exponentially.
And my beautiful spreadsheet is suddenly useless.
Because the spreadsheet was a compression of reality. It deliberately stripped out the nuance to make the decision manageable. But you can't live in a spreadsheet. You have to live in the actual house.
And when all that complexity hits, that perfect clarity you had online just dissolves.
It dissolves straight into anxiety. And notice what happens next. This is the recalibration problem the researchers talk about. When the data starts flooding in and it conflicts with your initial simple picture, do you calmly integrate all the new data points?
Absolutely not. I freak out. I get emotional.
And when you get emotional, your attention narrows drastically. You stop seeing the big picture entirely. You fixate on one single thing like, I love the kitchen. Or you just bail completely.
The kitchen is nice. Let's just buy it. That is exactly what happens. We revert to the simplest possible narrative to stop the pain of the complexity.
Exactly. We sacrifice truth for resolution. And if you think buying a house is hard, compare that to processing a breaking news event.
Oh, that's the house example on steroids.
Speed is the killer here. A story breaks. Explosion in the Capitol. That is a single data point. It's clear. But within 10 minutes, you have Twitter threads, contradictory reports, context from 50 years of geopolitical history, and thousands of people screaming at each other.
And I'm sitting on my couch trying to figure out who is right in real time.
And the environment is shifting faster than your brain can possibly update its mental model. It's like trying to draw a detailed map of a landscape while a massive earthquake is happening. You just cannot do it.
So is this just because I'm not smart enough? Like if I had a higher IQ, could I handle the speed?
No. And this is the part I really want to land for everyone listening. It is not a software bug. It is a hardware limitation. We really have to look at the evolutionary mismatch.
We're back to the vintage brain.
Think about what the human brain evolved to do. For 99% of our history, we lived in small, local, slow-moving environments.
The village.
The tribe. You knew maybe 50 people. News traveled at the literal speed of walking. If something happened, you could go look at it with your own physical eyes.
And in that world, speed was survival.
Right. If you see a shape moving in the tall grass.
You don't form a committee to analyze the light refraction patterns.
No. You compress the data instantly. You say, pattern equals tiger, and you run. If you're wrong, you pant for a few minutes and feel silly. If you're right, you survive to pass on your genes.
So our brains are deeply optimized for better safe and fast than accurate and slow.
Exactly. We are built for pattern recognition, not data analysis. We are literally built to filter out information. The source material calls this compression.
How does compression work in this modern context, though?
Well, imagine the world is sending you 1 billion pixels of information every second. To make any kind of decision, your brain has to throw away 999 million of them and focus on the 3 pixels that look like a face or a threat.
Okay, that makes sense.
And that works great when the signals are physical, wind, rain, tiger. But when the signals are highly abstract concepts like global economics, justice systems, foreign policy, and you apply that same compression,
You lose the exact nuance that actually matters.
you strip away all the vital context. You turn a massively complex human tragedy into a clickbait headline. You turn a difficult policy decision into a 10-second soundbite. You aren't seeing reality anymore. You are seeing a low-resolution thumbnail of reality.
A thumbnail that is super easy to process, but usually completely wrong.
And then the brain takes those little thumbnails and strings them together. The researchers call this narrative construction. We are hardwired to tell stories. A caused B.
Like, in our meeting, the project failed because the software was bad. Just a nice, simple story.
Even though the actual reality is, the project failed because the software was okay, but the training was incredibly rushed, and the manager was distracted by a divorce, and the market shifted unexpectedly. But the brain hates that story. It's too messy.
So we edit the movie in our heads to make it watchable.
We edit reality to make it survivable. But here is the core tension of the whole deep dive. We are now living in a modern world that demands 2 things from us simultaneously, and they are mutually exclusive.
What are they?
Speed and depth.
Oh, man, I feel this every single day.
Speed allows adaptation. Speed is what your boss demands. Speed is what the social media algorithm wants. But depth allows for the actual integration of complexity. Depth is what allows you to truly understand if that new software is a good idea or a disaster waiting to happen.
But can't I just, I don't know, try harder? Can I train myself to be fast and deep?
It's a zero-sum game. Think of it like a camera lens. You can have a really wide angle, which lets you see all the context. Or you can have a very fast shutter speed to capture a split-second moment. You physically cannot have both at the extreme. To go deep, you have to slow down. You have to literally stop the incoming input.
Which feels totally impossible when my Slack is pinging every 14 seconds.
Exactly. So what do? We default to speed, and the consequences are what we are seeing everywhere in society right now. Overconfidence is the big one.
We feel incredibly sure about things just because we moved fast.
We feel sure because we only looked at the thumbnail. And this drives polarization too.
How so? Because of the political side of things?
Well, on any side of the spectrum, nuance creates drag. Saying it's complicated is heavy. It does not travel well on social media. It doesn't get retweets. But saying this is purely evil or this is absolutely great, that is aerodynamic. It flies.
So the simplest, most compressed ideas always win the race, even if they are the least accurate.
Correct. And then we hit cognitive fatigue. Because trying to process all this high-speed noise is just exhausting. We eventually give up. We retreat to our designated team. We only listen to the sources that tell us what we already want to hear because it requires fewer calories to process.
It is so much easier to be a fan than an analyst.
Much easier.
Okay, so this is painting a bit of a bleak picture for us. We are these biological relics drowning in high-speed data, clinging to these overly simple stories just to stop the anxiety. How do we actually deal with this? Because the source material had a mental model that I thought was really powerful.
Yes, the narrowing spotlight.
Yeah. Walk us through this, because this genuinely changed how I visualize my own thought process.
Okay, close your eyes for a second. Imagine you were standing in a massive, pitch-black warehouse.
Yeah.
This warehouse represents reality. It is practically infinite. It's filled with every fact, every perspective, every causal link in the universe.
Okay, I am in the dark warehouse.
Now you have a flashlight. That flashlight is your conscious attention.
Got it.
You can point that beam absolutely anywhere, but the beam is narrow. You can only illuminate a tiny, tiny circle of the warehouse at any given time.
Right. Because if I try to make the beam too wide, the light just gets too dim and I can't really see anything clearly, so I have to focus it.
Exactly. You focus the beam on one specific spot, say the project plan or a breaking news headline. Inside that circle of light, everything looks crisp, it looks clear, you can see all the details, you feel like you know exactly what's going on.
I have clarity.
You have clarity about what is in the light. But here is the real danger. The darkness outside that circle isn't empty. It is totally full of information that is highly relevant to what you were looking at.
It's full of the structural problems with the software or the deep historical context of the news story.
Right. But because you can't see it, your brain assumes it simply doesn't exist. You make a massive decision based only on what is in the lit circle.
And this totally redefines what clarity actually is.
This is the big takeaway from all this research. We tend to think clarity means, I understand the whole truth. But under this model, clarity is just the feeling of brightness inside your tiny spotlight.
Honestly, that's terrifying.
It explains the meeting example perfectly, though.
Yeah.
Why did everyone nod? Because confident Chad pointed a very bright, very narrow spotlight directly at efficiency gains. And inside that specific spotlight, the logic held up. It was bright. Everyone felt good.
But the massive integration issues were sitting right there in the dark, 5 feet to the left, just waiting to kill us.
Exactly. The feeling of certainty didn't mean you were right. It just meant your spotlight was extremely narrow.
So if we accept this, that our spotlight is always going to be way too small for the warehouse, what do we practically do? We can't light up the whole warehouse.
No, we can't. But we can fundamentally change how we relate to the spotlight. The first step is just awareness. We need to stop beating ourselves up for not seeing everything instantly. It is physically impossible.
Compassion for the vintage brain.
Right. But the second step is active management. We have to recognize that this tension between speed and depth is permanent. It is not a puzzle you can solve. It's a dynamic you have to manage.
So I have to choose.
You have to choose constantly.
Yeah.
There are absolutely times when speed is necessary. If the building is on fire, do not ponder the structural nuance of the architecture. Run. Use the narrow spotlight.
But for the software migration.
Widen the beam. Purposely slow down. Force yourself to look into the dark corners. Ask yourself, what am I not seeing here? Invite the people who strongly disagree with you to point their flashlights at the exact same object from a totally different angle.
But doing that requires being okay with the anxiety of confusion for a little bit longer.
It does. It requires building up a tolerance for the open loop.
Which brings us to a final thought from the source material, which I really think is the perfect place to land today. It's a bit of a warning for you as you go about your week.
It is. The researchers suggest that because we now know how this spotlight works, that it actually gets brighter the narrower it gets, we should perhaps be deeply suspicious of that exact feeling of clarity.
Say a little more about that.
When you feel that sudden click, when an opinion just feels so obvious, when a decision feels incredibly easy, when a narrative fits perfectly with absolutely no loose ends,
My alarm bells should ring.
you should pause. Because that feeling of perfect, frictionless clarity usually doesn't mean you have mastered the complexity of the situation. It usually means you just dialed your spotlight down to a tiny pinpoint.
You've just tuned out all the messy reality so you can feel good.
Precisely. Real understanding usually feels a little messy. It feels a little gray. If you feel totally 100% clear, you are probably missing something massive sitting right there in the dark.
So the next time I'm in a meeting and I feel that rush of, oh, this is so simple.
Ask yourself, is it actually simple? Or is my spotlight just really, really small?
I love that. It's a great tool for humility.
And a vital tool for making better decisions in a complex world.
Well, this has certainly widened my spotlight today. I think I'm going to go reevaluate a few opinions I hastily formed on Twitter this morning.
Always a healthy exercise.
Thank you for walking us through this. And to everyone listening, thank you for diving in with us. Remember, it's actually okay to be confused. It might just mean you are finally paying attention to the whole picture. We'll see you in the next deep dive.